Hello, my name is Russ McHouston. I'm a senior at Reidland High School. And our first question tonight comes from Timmy, a 7th grader at Reidland. Timmy wants to know who said something about moving the earth with a lever. And this is a science question. The answer is Archimedes. What exactly the quote was, Archimedes said, "Give me a point of support and I shall move the earth." What he was trying to demonstrate was the enormous power that you can get with the use of levers and other simple machines. Glad to have had a chance to help you out, Timmy.
Hello, I'm Tony Davis, and my first question is from Ron. It's a math question. I have to illustrate it. Ron wanted me to explain the exponent in x to the 2/3. Okay, Ron, the 2 is going to be what the power of x is under the radical. So the denominator will be what's on the outside of your radical. So it's the cube root of x squared. Thank you, Ron.
Hello, I'm Patrick Connor from Reidland High School. And my first question comes from Mark from Graves County. He's a sophomore, and I'll go to the board to illustrate this question. He asked what the volume of a sphere is with a diameter of 8 inches. Okay, first thing to set this problem up is know the formula for the area of a sphere. The formula for the area of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, it says the diameter of the circle, the sphere, is 8 inches. This is that diameter. So the radius, which is needed here, is going to be half of that. It's going to be 4 inches. And when you put 4 inches into this, you solve that, and that'll be your answer. So we put 4 in here. And 4 cubed is 64. And you multiply this times the 4/3 and the pi. And you can divide, well, just multiply it out. 64, and you can divide that by 3 first, would be simplest. And okay, forget that. Okay, 64 times the 4/3 is okay, 4 times 64 is 256, and that divided by 3 and when the final answer is 85 and 1/3 times pi. And that's the area of a sphere.
Hello, I'm John Whitty. I'm a senior at Reidland High School. My first question is from George, who's a 3rd grader at Reidland Elementary. It's in math. I'll have to illustrate this one on the board. It's a division problem, and George wants to know how to divide 2,000 by 7. So we'll write it out on the board. 7 divided by 2,000. 7 will not go into 2 any times. 7 will go into 20 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. You subtract 20 from 14 and you get 6. You bring down your 0 because 7 will not go into 6. 7 will go into 60 8 times. 7 times 8 is 56 with a remainder of 4. 7 will not go into 4, so you have to bring down the other 0. 7 will go into 40 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35 with a remainder of 5. So the answer is 285 with a remainder of 5.
Now we've got a question from Mark, who's a 9th grader at St. Mary. Mark wants to know who the first golfer in the United States who amassed a career earning of $1 million or more. Well, Mark, the answer to this question is Arnold Palmer. He also distinguished himself several times by winning the Masters tournament, as well as later on in his career, I believe it was 1982, he won the Old Timers tournament. Thank you, Mark, and please keep on calling in.
My next question is from Benji at Reidland Elementary. Benji wanted to know how many 5-star generals have there been. There have been 5 5-star generals, and they are Henry H. Arnold, Eunice N. Bradley, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Douglas MacArthur, and George C. Marshall. Thank you for calling in, Benji.
Phoebe is called in from Paducah Middle School, and she has a social studies problem. She asked who is the Undersecretary of the United States. Well, Phoebe, the answer is Elliot Abrams. He is presently the Undersecretary of the United States. Thanks for calling in.
My question is from Sean, who's a 10th grader at Reidland High School. It's in social studies. He'd like to know what is the significance of the Ides of March. Well, this particular date is on March 15th. The significance of this date is that Julius Caesar was killed by several senators on that date. Thanks for calling in, Sean, and we'd like to keep telling you, please keep calling.
Next, we've got a question from Brandy, a 6th grader at Paducah Middle. Brandy wanted to know how many times does the heart beat in a minute? Well, the heart rate for all people differs. It can range from very low 50s, and if after intense exercise, it can even get up near the 180 mark. In a healthy person, just relaxing around the room, the heart rate ranges from around 72 to 82 beats per minute. Thank you, Brandy.
My next question is from Bill. He goes to Reidland. It's a math question. Bill gave me the equation a to the x plus 3 equals a squared. And he wanted me to figure out what x was. Since a is the same, Bill, you just neglect a. So actually what you're looking for is x plus 3 equals 2. And then you work it out as a simple algebra equation. So it's x equals 2 minus 3, or x equals negative 1. When you substitute negative 1 in for x, you get 2. So that you see that 2 is equal to 2. Thank you for calling, Bill.
Melinda is called in from Heath. She's a 10th grader, and she asked how many days were the hostages held in Iran. Well, there have been several cases of hostages in different countries, but probably what she's asking for is the 1980 hostages that were held in Iran, and during that time they were held there for 444 days. Thanks for calling in.
I have a question here from Osborne, who's a 5th grader at Clark Elementary. It's in social studies. He'd like to know who's the 33rd President of the United States. Well, Osborne, the 33rd President of the United States was Harry S. Truman. He succeeded Franklin Delano Roosevelt after he died in 1945. Thanks for calling in.
Candy had a little trouble on her term paper for her English class, so she wanted to see if she could get some help on the state of Louisiana, which was her topic. The question: what are the 3 largest cities in the state of Louisiana? 3 largest cities in the state of Louisiana are New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport. An encyclopedia is the best source for finding information of this type, and the best 3 encyclopedias that most English teachers will recommend would be Encyclopedia Americana, the Britannica, and Collier's. Thank you, Candy.
My next question is from Jason. It's a science question. He wants to know, what 3 forms does water exist in? Water exists in 3 forms of liquids, solids, and gases.
I have a question from Jill from Lone Oak High School. She's a 10th grader. It's in math, and I'll go to the board to illustrate this. Her question deals with synthetic division, and I'll try to explain this. Her problem is x cubed plus 2x squared plus x divided by x plus 2. This is quite similar to a problem without variables in it, but this is how it's done. Okay, first you want to do, you want to look at this x right here and the first x here. Okay, you want to find something, you want something up here multiplied times x would get x cubed. Okay, what you do, so right here you put x squared, and then you multiply x cubed, excuse me for that, x squared. You multiply x squared times this, and you get x cubed, and then you multiply this, and you get plus 2x squared. And it, like in longhand, you subtract this, and here you would get 0. And next, you would bring down this x. Okay, so here you have x. Since x plus 2 is larger than x, you bring down the 4 too. That should have been there. Okay, now you're looking for how many times this x will go into this x. And since this is larger, you can do that. You can put the 1 here, and 1 times x plus 2, you bring this down here, and subtract again. And the remainder here is 2. And since you're out of places here, 2 is a remainder, and it's added on to this up here, and this will become a denominator, and x plus 2 is put over it. And here's the answer for this synthetic division.
I have a question here from Herbert, who's a 5th grader at Heath Elementary. He'd like to know who led the American Expeditionary Forces in World War I. Well, the answer to that is John J. Pershing. Thanks for calling in.